Hello, everybody, and welcome to Podfluxxx, episode 51. Ricky Reyes, what's going on, man?
Not much, bro. Just some crazy times in pro wrestling.
Aren't isn't that the truth?
Right.
So, we're recording a few days later than we normally do, with the pay-per-view being on Sunday, and then I had some family commitments Monday and Tuesday, so here we are. It's Wednesday night. It's 8 p.m. You know what that means. So I've got the Goof Squad on in the background here on mute, so they don't get too much in our way. But tonight we're gonna cover some random topics, some WWE stuff, and then we're gonna hit the high points on Dynasty, AEW's Dynasty. So if you were ready, I just want to pull something up on my phone here. And we're going to get started, Ricky, and I want to talk about Rhea Ripley. So, there's never any good time to get hurt, right?
Yeah.
But is there a worse time than right now?
Yeah. Yeah. This is really bad. Yeah, I don't know where they were planning on going as far as uh, getting the belt off of her, because I would imagine that Becky Lynch was going to be her highest profiled opponent with the
Mm,
best possibility. Everybody else is kind of like a backlash style opponent where you're just thinking that she's moving right along through that next opponent. Uh, so yeah, I didn't even know she was hurt, right? Because I don't think they announced anything. I guess it was in that brawl with Liv. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, obviously, like when I watched it a couple times and couldn't really make out, where it happened. I guess, but I guess it was a shoulder injury. I guess, but
They
um,
what is being they're saying it's when she hit her with the chair, but what people online are saying it's when she threw her into the wall and
yeah.
took the wall on her left shoulder and Kevin Tibbs her AC joint there.
Yeah, that's what I thought it could have been. I thought if anything, it looked like that. Yeah, it sucks. But the first thing I thought about was, is this their way out, getting her out of the Judgment Day? And then when I watched Monday, how it looks like they're kind of breaking up anyways, or at least hinting at, maybe
Mm-hmm.
this was a good way of getting her away from them. I mean, instead of having to do a everybody's mad at each other and walk off in different directions type of deal.
Right.
So maybe that helps. It's just she's one of those people, one of the few people on TV, I think, right now that she doesn't need time away to refresh because she's so good. It is refreshing what she's doing. So now having her out is kind of a bum deal. But it'll be interesting to see when she does come back. Maybe she rehabs and hits like a big return at SummerSlam. That could be a huge boost, I would think. So yeah, now we just kind of wait and see, right? Because and then they put the belt on Becky at uh, on Raw.
Right.
So I liked how Becky Hogan was trending. I don't know if you saw that,
I
but
didn't see that. I didn't catch much from Monday's Raw.
no,
So
yeah, I didn't watch it, but Becky Hogan was trending after she won, and everybody was saying that because she wouldn't put anybody over, brother. So that was funny, but I mean, it's obviously the right move. I'm also curious, like when's Charlotte supposed to be back?
right.
Because I thought it was shortly after WrestleMania, and we're
She
there now.
she tweeted the other day
The belt, right?
the belt, yeah,
Right.
which was a big
So
tease for everybody
I did.
online.
I thought about when Kurt Angle popped up on SmackDown, remember, and won the world title. Do you remember that? They did a battle royal for the world heavyweight title, and then when everybody was in the ring, Kurt Angle's music came on, and then he came out and just angle slammed everybody out of the battle royal. So I thought, man, are they gonna angle Charlotte into this, like come out last, and then she was gonna win it all, setting up her and Rhea for another big match, but obviously they didn't.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask you, there's been a lot of conjecture on the internet since Becky was hurt, since Rhea got hurt and relinquished her title, that, well, they didn't make Seth give his title up.
Right.
You know, Roman was the champion for 1,300 days and worked 37 times or something. And I understand what the difference is there, because you have the guy at least available,
right,
if you needed to have a match. Where are you at on stripping titles off of champions for injuries? Listen, if you break your neck and, it's a real question mark, that's one thing. If it's going to be a 2 or 3 week thing, that's another. But I feel like anywhere from like the 4 to 8 month range, that could go either way. What do you think?
Yeah, they've kind of gotten themselves into a predicament with that, because I don't necessarily look at Roman as being in the same category, but the Seth and Rhea thing is the argument, because they're both strong characters, TV characters, so it would make sense to keep it on Rhea. I myself, if she was going to be gone past SummerSlam, or at least not able to do anything, I would say take it off of her. So has there been a timeline announced and when she's coming back, or the surgery?
Not that I'm aware of yet. I was just trying to look it up before when I said, give me a second. I'm just trying to find something.
But that's the thing is if they don't really know yet, and she could rehab it and be okay in a couple of weeks to where she can move around and look normal, then that's fine. And then again, I don't know, like, Seth's situation was a little bit different because it was a main event for WrestleMania. So that's, but yeah, they've put themselves into that, because I remember, the quote unquote rule, right, was always like 30 days. You have to defend the belt in 30 days type of thing, or you get stripped. So, that'll pass quickly. It's just like a stupid argument to have. But if she could keep coming to TV, and every week she's going to get a little bit stronger with rehab, we could have had her at least make appearances at the very least. But they might also be looking for that Rhea comeback explosion, which if they have an awesome comeback in line, that's the big money, right? The big picture. So she go away, so we miss her more, and then she comes back hotter than ever. So that, and like I said, getting her out of the bloodline, that could be her out. Maybe she doesn't cross paths with those guys for a long time. The draft, is she going to be a big surprise draft? Like, is she going to be the number one, for SmackDown? Now they got the belt off her. She can take the other belt, there's all those.
Yeah, leave her undrafted. She shows up someplace when she's back.
Yeah. What's the bigger picture here is they have something for her bigger than what she's already doing, I think.
All right.
So that's the reason why they took the belt off her, in my opinion. I can only imagine, because with Triple H in charge and everything, maybe Charlotte's the big surprise draft, whatever. She pops up, everyone kind of forgets about Rhea for that second, and then boom, there she is, So I trust, with Triple H in charge, I trust this to make more logical sense down the road than ever before, right?
Right. So. Now, the decision to go with the Beckamaniac, the Beckster, the immortal Becky Hogan here. Do you think that's just, hey, this is a safe play? or hey, let's use Becky to get somebody else over for when we maybe do get Rhea back?
Well, I mean, again, where's Rhea going to end up with this draft? Like, this is the big question mark. Is it going to be Rhea popping up on SmackDown, away from Monday Night Raw?
Right.
And then, so yeah, I don't know, but Becky's the obvious choice because she's the biggest star. Without having Charlotte and Rhea there, it's a no-brainer to have Becky there, and then Bailey's on the other channel, right? So, I mean, I thought that was like almost too obvious because the other girl, Liv, even if they did put the belt on her for that moment, I can only imagine Rhea coming back and just destroying her for it in seconds because she's just too little,
No, yeah, that makes sense. But speaking of too little, or the opposite of, we got a Sheamus return on Raw the other night, and not only did we get a Sheamus return, he came back with his original theme music. And you think for a guy who was having neck problems and shit like this, they wouldn't be like, all right, oh, you're back for the first time in 8 months. Let's throw you out there with the 350-pound Viking.
Yeah.
So he worked with Ivar, and they completely kicked the crap out of each other. And obviously, I'm not the type here that I'm going to be like, oh, Sheamus is fat.
Right.
But the internet went right ahead.
Yeah.
With the, oh, Sheamus is fat, which he responded in a tweet, what, I'm just big boned. I thought he looked fine. He was wearing biker shorts. He wasn't as defined as he normally would be, but when he blew up is when you really started seeing it. What do you think of the Sheamus comeback, the original music, the new look? Where you at on Sheamus in 2024?
I mean, I don't know. It's nice to have him back because he's a big body, and he can help get guys over. The shape stuff is, that's just the internet trying to be funny. He can still go. He still moves well. I mean, I'm not against it in any way. I'm not excited either. It's just one of those like, oh, cool, Sheamus is back. Like, because in 2 or 3 months, what's he going to be doing? So,
Right.
I mean, he'd be a great guy for like a Braun Breaker to storm right through. And then now we have something,
Yeah.
if you heat Sheamus up, they get into a little face off. That's a nice little fucking like Dr. Death, Steve Williams style, Smash Mouth style wrestling match we could get out of those guys, which would be really fun to watch. But yeah, if he's not there just solely for that, like, I don't know what they're gonna do with him,
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like right now, Sheamus is the exact level of star that would make perfect cannon fodder. A nice like first serious program for a new guy trying to get over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think having him around is great. I mean, he would be great cannon fodder for Drew McIntyre right now. I could always watch those guys beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
So
And then the way they're bleeding in some of the guys into NXT, like a Sheamus arriving at NXT would be really cool for all those guys, right? I mean, like the reaction he would get because he's kind of always been just a SmackDown Raw person. So
yeah, especially going into next year with the new
right.
TV show, Sheamus is the kind of caliber star with the credentials of world titles and WWE championships that you can put down there to get over your next
Yeah.
phase of NXT.
Yeah, for sure.
But speaking of titles, Ricky, we've got new tag belts. And I sent you the picture right when Triple H pulled the sheet off. And you said, "Oh, they must be listening." Well, hopefully, they're listening to somebody, because people have been complaining about those tag titles for years and years and years and years. And then we got the other set of new tag titles on SmackDown. Now, the ones on Raw, the World Tag Team titles, look just like the women's and the men's World Tag Team Championship.
Right.
They're not the greatest, but they're leagues beyond the old belts. And then on SmackDown, we got the WWE Tag Team titles, which don't look like the men and women's tag belts main titles at all. But goddamn, those titles look special. What do you think about the Raw ones?
They were okay. I mean, you know, they just make them so big when they're like that, right? Like they just look like they go from your chest down to your dick, like in a big, hubcap looking style, right? Because they're round and I don't mind them. I guess they're nothing great, but they're better than what they had. So I'm taking that as a positive.
And then those beautiful pieces of hardware on SmackDown.
Yeah, those were cool. I like those. I've always, like I said, like WrestleMania 5 was my favorite WrestleMania, and that was the belts used there. The same as the Intercontinental title and stuff. So I was always a big fan of those. Like, I'm glad they don't, for whatever reason, they made them look different than, like you said, like the heavyweight title. So whatever reason that is, I mean, great. But I wonder if they're going to get rid of that U.S. title then, because I don't like that flag looking thing.
For a long time, I've maintained that I thought that U.S. title was the best looking belt they had.
No.
I mean, up until recently.
Okay.
I felt like for a while it was the only belt there that looked like a championship belt.
Yeah, kind of.
The blue and red, the Universal and the WWE titles.
Yeah, I didn't like the color
with the stencil on it.
Yeah.
That IC title is hideous.
Yeah, that is ugly.
And those tag titles have been trashed for 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought when they dropped that U.S. title, I was like, oh, man, that thing is dope. But now they, it's garbage now. But yeah, man, I was super stoked. It was funny. I saw people online that were like, "Oh man, those SmackDown titles are like a modern take on the when they first. You remember when they first split Raw and SmackDown?
Yes, I remember. Yes. Angle and Benoit had them for a while.
Yes, and they did like an update on the original tag titles.
Yes.
There are people who think that this is an update on like the 2004 tag titles.
Yeah.
Because they're not old enough to know about the beautiful tag titles that we grew up with.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
So vis-a-vis people are stupid. But anyway, I think we've wasted enough time here, so I think it's time to get into the main event. What do you say?
Sure. Now, so the attendance was around 6,000 or 7,000, is that right?
The Wikipedia for the event has it posted at 7,000 in the, I can't pronounce it, the Chaifetz Arena in St. Louis.
Okay. What's capacity in there? 10?
You know what? I think I looked it up. Let me give me 1 second.
I did search for it, and I thought it was 10.9 was capacity because all these nerds were like, it's super full. And I was like, well, that's 3,000 seats in catering. You see the big curtain hanging.
It says 10.6 on their
Okay,
Wikipedia.
yeah. So that's
So
still pretty good. That's still pretty
yeah,
good. Yeah.
you got more than you got 3/4 of a house there. So
Yeah. That's
good for
okay.
them.
Yeah.
Would you see? What didn't you see? Would you catch? Would you like?
I was keeping up on it all throughout the night. I guess coming out of it, like we called the finish of the main event, like we expected. Um, what I didn't like was the Osprey post show. What is it?
I
The
didn't
Q
watch
and A.
any of the scrum.
Yeah, the scrum. He acted like he's not going to lower himself to Triple H's level by taking
Oh,
shots.
I did see that. Go
I
ahead.
thought that was hilarious. First off, secondly, he decided to retire the move that almost killed Brian Danielson, and I thought that was hilarious and stupid and business exposing and the dumbest fucking thing you could say in a scrum period, because isn't your job to beat the guy and whatever it takes to make to, did Misawa apologize to Kawada right after the match in the press, like, hey, my bad, bro, I almost murdered you again, but like, because you almost murdered me, and like it was stupid and it was bad, because my whole thing, when Osprey talks, he wants you to take what he does seriously, but then he goes and tells you that, well, we're just playing wrestling and I didn't want to hurt my friend because I respect him so much.
Yeah,
And it's a typical shit where you eat type of thing. Uh, you're not swinging down if you're taking shots at Triple H, because when Tony Khan closes up the piggy bank, the only place you're ever going to get any money is by crawling on your hands and feet now, hands and knees, to go to Triple H and ask for a job. So
right.
what he shouldn't have done was acknowledged it in any way, especially as cheesy as he did, was the stupidest thing. But then to stand there and then all of a sudden say things like, I'm not going to lower myself to that standard. It's like, come on, man. They're just shitting on you just because of facts, right? Like, he didn't want to work as much, so he went to AEW, and at that point in your life, in your career, why wouldn't you want to be on the road every day? Like, if you're having these stellar matches, don't you want to have them with the biggest stars in wrestling? I mean, who are we to say that in a few years Osprey and Braun Breaker weren't gonna main event a SummerSlam or something? Or, for fuck's sake, like, now you're just taking shit away from us. You know what I mean? Like, uh, that's just like one example, of getting in there. Like, so, when he came out and said all that, I thought it was stupid. I figured they would have the best match of the night, which I'm sure they did. I'm glad Swerve, had his moment, and they did the title change there. I'm still predicting Swerve and Osprey in London, and London being Osprey's moment. So
We'll get to that in a moment. But while you're speaking on Swerve, instead of having a celebration or a promo, he is currently having the first TV match on the show with Kyle Fletcher competitively.
right, of course,
So there's that.
yes,
Anyway, Dynasty. All right. So Dynasty opened up with Pac and Okada.
oh,
And they had JR on the call.
ooh,
They went 21, almost 22 minutes. And it was obviously Okada's best showing since he's been with AEW. It was a very, very like prominent era of New Japan style
Yeah.
with like the right mixture of like or blend into the American style when it was time to get going.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you could see like for them the big crowd, the crowd was hot, but they like didn't know what to do in the beginning. Like Pac snatched a headlock, brought him down. It was working the headlock, and it was very much uh like watching like a New Japan show. Like the crowd was quiet and like they were working with the headlock, but then like the mark AEW crowd starts doing the
Yeah.
for Okada to come up and do something, but he's
Right.
just like, no, this isn't how it works,
Yeah.
like. So, but they had a really good match. I felt like it went a little long. Pac sold the shit out of the Rainmaker, and it was like I said before, the best Okada match I've seen thus far in AEW. Now, AEW, we've been talking about how they've already making it seem like there's no value in Okada as far as their TV is concerned.
Right.
They put him on here in the first match of the pay-per-view, but like the first match, like that's not a preliminary spot anymore. How many matches and what type of matches do they have to book Okada in to repair the damage they've already? Does it have to be? Can they do 3 weeks of bad TV with Okada and then let him have a good pay-per-view match and just hope that's how they're going to get by?
Man, I don't know. That's all they do is bad TV, so he kind of had to expect that that's what was going to happen. And I feel like with the way they book and the way they structure their pay-per-views and stuff, isn't that kind of for everybody? Like you do all kinds of stupid shit, and then if you're capable of having a good match, you come out and kind of kill it regardless of the angles and storyline. Because nobody sells or plays up their story in their matches, right? We're just getting quote unquote bangers, because guys can do the moves. They just go out there and do it to each other, not with no story, not understanding what got them to that point, so they're not playing it up in any way. So I don't know, man. Like, look at Jay White, for crying out loud. Like I'm always going to go back to him because he should have known better, and what's his value now anywhere? I mean, it's just, I don't know. I was, like I said, I was going to be disappointed if he went there, and I'm still disappointed. And giving him Pac is like, okay, you had 15, 20 minutes of good wrestling, and then what? So there's that.
Well, not everybody gets booked in bangers on pay-per-views, and the next match was an example of that. The House of Black, Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, Mark Briscoe 6-man tag match. It wasn't a bad match, but it was a TV 6-man tag match that they used 18 minutes of pay-per-view time to advance. So basically, they had the whole match with Malachi Black dodging Edge. He would not get in with Edge. Every time Edge tried to get in with him, he would tag out. They never never had contact until the end when Malachi Black took a advantage, grabbed the tag, hit the fucking spin kick on Edge while he wasn't looking, pinned him, and rolled out. So they're building something there, but I didn't think you needed 18 minutes on pay-per-view to do it. I don't think you needed to have, recently they had Edge and Willow against Brody King and Julia Hart on a Dynasty. Yeah. Like, I don't think you need to be booking Adam Copeland like this to be getting this kind of story with him and Malachi Black. No. On top of that, it is, I'm starting, I've said things about Brody King before that I don't get it. I don't like him. He's not my style. The page is starting to turn because I can see there's glimpses of like what they can do with him and what he can be there, but then he bumps from a back elbow from Eddie Kingston, and it's kind of just like, it's a shame that this is what Buddy Matthews does.
I was just going to say, of all those guys, I feel so bad for Buddy Matthews.
He's first of all, he's the best worker in the group. He's the best worker on most of the roster. He's got the best look on the roster outside of Pac. And he's just, he's just buried in this. If he's into it, that's cool too. But like that guy, by now he's been there. He was in one of the first waves of releases in the pandemic in 2020.
Yes.
Okay. Guy's been there almost about 4 years now. Let's call it 3.5, right? For the non-compete clause. He should be a way bigger star now than he is. Because then if this is what he was doing, then he should have just he might as well be doing the Seth Rollins Monday Night Messiah fucking disciple gimmick again, because it's not good. Mark Briscoe was Mark Briscoe, and Eddie Kingston, dude. I've come to a realization about Eddie Kingston. I really, really like Eddie Kingston. And then the bell rings, and the way he works doesn't match the person that he's portraying.
That he looks like, yeah.
Because he's speaking to us as if he is a street level, right? But then he gets in there, and it's like a mid to late 90s All Japan tribute show.
Yeah.
But he doesn't look that. I don't want to see him chopping people. I want to see him punching somebody in the mouth.
Right.
So it's tough there, and I don't want to pick on him because it took him so long to finally get, his shot. That I'm glad that it happened, but he's just not doing. And they missed the boat on him a couple of years ago when they could have capitalized and the people were into him. But now it's it's all the same. Everybody likes to go John Cena and Kevin Nash, like 5 moves of doom. Well, like everybody on this roster has 17 moves of doom, and they do them all in every match.
Yeah. When you get the 3 or 5 moves of doom, it's because they're over.
Yeah.
And that's all they need to do. Yeah. They're forgetting that more isn't better in this scenario here, of moves.
Well, there was more. The next match was Willow versus Julia Hart for the TBS Championship. 6 minutes, which was perfect.
Right, I'm sure.
In the time allotted for everybody's skill set here,
yeah,
it was an enjoyable 6 minutes. and then they put Willow over. And I can't complain about it. And the crowd was into it. The crowd so far is into everything.
Okay.
Everything. But we'll get somewhere where they're not.
Well, St. Louis is not a venue they frequent, right?
I don't think so.
I was gonna say I know it's not their first time there, but it could have been almost a year before they were there, right? To do anything, I think. So that's good.
And St. Louis, obviously, historically a tremendous wrestling town. So
wrestling town, yeah.
The next match, Roddy Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. I am happy to report that Roderick Strong did not come to the ring in a weird cape and paintball mask. So already we've improved on the last pay-per-view.
Right. Somebody sent him a clip of him, and he thought, all right, won't do that again.
They went 17 minutes. I was thinking the same thing. Like, there were a few points in there where I was like, time to go, boys. But you know what? It's this. You don't even really need to talk about this match because you know exactly what Roddy Strong and Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah.
They had the match on this pay-per-view that the Usos should have had on WrestleMania.
Mm.
You know, counter for counter, knowing, you know what I mean? It was just, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
The next match was one of, and I didn't state this up front, and I meant to. I enjoyed everything on this pay-per-view that needed to be good was really good, in my opinion. I know there are a lot of people who are going to be like, and nitpick on little things.
Yeah.
But when you've got a fullish building and you've got a hot crowd, and you know you're doing stuff that's not making me go, you know.
Yeah.
I thought the show overall, I was happier with it than I was, you know, angry that I spent money on it. But then this happens. Chris Jericho beats Hook for the FTW title in 16 minutes and 35 seconds.
What?
A 54-year-old Chris Jericho had a 17-minute garbage match on pay-per-view. He was heavily either just booed or disregarded by the crowd. There was a please retire chant at some point. And then he pretended to hit Hook in the head with a baseball bat and pinned him 1, 2, 3. So here we go again with Chris Jericho being in AEW to make stars and get young guys over.
I saw a tweet that as soon as you said that match, I could see it as clear as day. Hook was laying down flat, and I guess Jericho was going to pin him. And the tweet said, nice to see Hook getting young talent over.
Yeah.
And that's all I could think. That's how I found out, A, that was a match. I didn't know that was even a match. And B, that he lost. And I'm thinking, like, what? Oh, I love it. I mean, what can we say about Jericho now that people haven't already ripped on, right? I mean, I don't know, dude. I mean, I would love to be a fly on the wall when they're talking about all this, as Jericho's, you know, persistently shaking his head. Yeah, this is a great idea, you know, and you just sit there and think, like, you know, your check doesn't change,
right?
If you have to carry hardware around, you're just, you know. So I don't know. I mean, poor Hook. again, it goes back to, like I've been saying since the beginning, are none of these guys back there speaking up for themselves? That, besides Jericho and the Bucks, like, does everybody else walk around on eggshells hoping not to rock the boat? Because at some point, somebody's got to say something, right? I mean, especially these younger guys.
And you'd think one whose father is works there.
Right.
He is a star of the promotion and the era that the promoter is a mark for.
Right.
Think that, like,
somebody would say something. I
yeah,
mean,
you think these guys, like, they show up to TV and they see the board and they see Jericho and their name and they're like, nah.
I wonder. That's the thing, because like that would be the one locker room. Obviously, I was never in, so I was always curious. What's it like back there? Like, what are they doing? I don't know. It's weird to me because so much stuff doesn't make any sense at all. It's not good for their business at all in any way, shape, or form. Yet the younger guys just seem to be like, yeah, let's go out and do it. Like, I'll lose again and again and again, and then I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand it.
Well, are you familiar at all with their contract structuring?
No, I'm not. I don't know which. I know there's pay per appearance guys, and then there's the salary guys.
Right.
I don't know anything other than that.
There are different tiers to their contracts, right?
Okay.
And basically, like, the bottom tier, the way I understood it, how it was explained to me by someone, their bottom tier is paid for appearance. You can't work other televised wrestling companies.
Okay.
You can do, I believe it's like approved independence.
Right.
And that's that. The next tier is you get paid per, I think it was like you get paid per appearance, and then you get like a weekly, but it's nothing special.
Right.
And then from there it goes up to like real guys.
Right.
So they've got guys who are quote unquote under contract there who can't really go and work anyplace else, but they're not getting paid unless you see their face on a TV screen.
Yeah.
So if I'm one of those guys, it's like the back of the Job Squad shirt, man. Pin me, pay me, because I got bills to pay. And then you see things like with the releases they released that guy Slim J, and like he tweeted like, man, like he's like, I can't afford, like he was working his like a day job while being under contract with AEW, and he was like, man, and I can't afford a nicer house for my family. He's like, I don't have a car. We live in the hood. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, this is a guy that you've been paying for 2 years, but you never see Slim J on TV.
Right.
So he's not getting paid. But anyway, I digress, to borrow a phrase from Taz since we're talking about his son. The next match was Tony Storm versus Thunder Rosa, and you'll never guess what happened.
What?
I just needed anything else in the world to do for 15 minutes during Tony Storm and Thunder Rosa. So I'm sure it was 15 minutes long. When I finished fast forwarding it, everybody was still in the building, so I'm assuming it couldn't have went that bad. The next match, Ospreay and Danielson. I've been hard on Will Ospreay for years, right?
Yeah.
Like, even beyond us recording, anytime we've had a conversation,
Well, I remember what tickled your taint the first time was the Osprey Ricochet circus
Right.
gymnastics show, and I
Yeah.
remember you were like, "That's it, fuck him."
Yeah, I was livid. I was done.
Yeah,
When I
yeah,
saw they
I
did
know.
the one spot where Ricochet literally just puts his arm out like this so
Yeah,
Osprey had something to base on to float
yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah.
Fuck all these people, they can rot. But Ricky, this might have been one of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it won't happen again because he almost hurt Brian, so he's not
Yeah.
going to do that stuff anymore.
I've done a 180 here on Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
Because you can see, as much as he is a spot monkey and just wants to do spot monkey shit, he gets it.
The thing with Will is I love his effort, right? Like how much he pours himself into the match, which is a Brian thing, an AJ, a Samoa Joe thing, it's but he's caught in between trying to keep their fans, the internet fans, happy and trying to give us believable wrestling that we can get lost in, and that's what bothers me is like, again, once he got out of the New Japan setting, he goes to AEW and falls into that category of like, yeah, it's a performance. We're all friends, and where he knows he should know better. He was brought up to know better, but I don't know. Yeah, he's gotten so much better. Like I was telling you, like as he moved into heavyweight and he got a little thicker and he wasn't relying on everything had to be a goddamn flip, that he just got into the, fighting and then doing some flips at the end of it. But yeah, I mean, I knew this was going to be, Meltzer's fucking wet dream match, and it was. So
every piece of paper in Dave Meltzer's office is currently stuck together.
Yeah, it's stuck to the walls. It's went around on the fan. Everything. Yeah, I knew it was gonna be great because we all know Brian's playing the back nine, and he's not gonna let this be, oh, I'm glad Brian Danielson left. He was and still is, considered to be the best wrestler on the planet, But yeah, I mean, I knew it was gonna be great and fun to watch. He just killed me on that fucking scrum. It pissed me off. And I knew I've talked to him and I've met him a few times and stuff. And he really does mean well. I really wish they would get somebody to teach them how to speak to media and have a game plan of, we can't just pull the curtain back and expose everything right after we do the show. We can't, I think I told you, like, Monster Factory tried to do that a couple times. And I remember Danny was like, yeah, you want to do the Q&A after the show? And I'm like, no, dude, like in 2 weeks, we got another show here with the VIP fans that paid the extra to be here. And they hate me. And I'm not going to go out there and sit next to the guy I just wrestled and answer questions on how we structured the match.
In your bi-weekly territory.
Yeah. All while Danny says, yeah, well, I booked it. We all had fun about it. And I'm like, no, dude, this is not a go jerk you off session. Like, no, I'm going home. I don't agree with any of that scrum stuff. And I think that WWE, they handle it the best, where they try not to, go out of character, or they try not to expose too much. Nobody does it better than Roman. Like when he told that one bitch to leave.
Yeah.
He said, if you don't leave, I'm going to leave. And then everybody on the internet was like, oh, fuck Roman Reigns. He's a piece of shit. And I'm like, yes, he is. Like, and I love it. Like,
oh, you get it.
I want more Roman. Yeah. I'm okay for waiting 3 more months to get him, because when he does come, this is what we get, which is pure gold, I I knew the match was going to be great. I don't need to see good wrestling moves to know it, but like I figured it was. The clips I saw were, impressive, and everybody. The pacing was all Brian. You can tell, he knows when to rev that crowd up, and then boom, a big explosion. So maybe I'll try to find it and check it out. But he just killed me at the end with what he said in the scrum about Triple H and the move, the Tiger Driver or whatever. Just pissed me off. So
Did you see? First of all, they did things in this match that I've never seen in my life. He Brian had him in a triangle, an arm triangle. And
he did the Styles Clash.
Bro, yeah. I was like, what now? Since there's nothing really to pick on in this match, and really for a lot of this show, this is the part where I would like to take the opportunity to pick apart the booking and the commentary. So we're going to play one of our favorite games for a moment. Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson, Ricky Reyes. Who is the heel?
There was supposed to be a heel.
Right.
Right. I mean, if they were smart, they would have did Brian the heel because Ospreay's the shiny new toy, right?
Right.
The same way I explained to you in the Ricochet Ospreay match, if Ricochet would have taken over at some point, thinking that he's the established flippy guy and here's the new flippy guy, let me put some steam on you, so that would have been more palatable for you to watch. Not that I was promoting that match, but I was saying one of the things that was wrong with it was they were doing it for the sake of doing it. So in this particular scenario, plus, isn't Brian still part of the BBC or whatever? So shouldn't he be the heel-ish style wrestler?
Right, but they're not really a heel stable either. More on that in a little while. But Brian is so smart, dude. Instead of having to do, I'm gonna work. You're both at this point. They're both baby faces, even though Will Ospreay is part of a heel stable. But all the seeds have been planted for him to get out of that.
Right.
And he's doing babyface promos. So Brian, instead of making it like, I'm the heel and having to put heat on him and have like a boring heat, he put this match together in a way that there were so many changes of momentum that it didn't occur to you that you weren't watching a heel and a baby face.
Right.
Or even if there was a heel or a baby face, because you were just, it's just anytime you had a second to think about anything, something incredible happened.
Yeah.
But they weren't just rushing and doing a million things.
Right. Of course.
Don Callis, how do you be an effective manager if every time your guy's in the ring, you're on commentary?
Oh, he was on commentary during this?
He's on commentary for every Ospreay match.
Oh.
So you come to the ring with your manager who can't manage you because he's on commentary, getting himself over, right?
Yeah, of course.
There's that 90s indie carny mentality, right? And then B, he blows every spot. Every spot. You can tell he sat right next to these guys all night long while they called the match. And he's like, before they went into the arm triangle, he's like, oh, Will's got to be careful here. He's leaving himself susceptible to an arm triangle. Oh, there it is, the arm triangle. There were like three things that he spoiled, set up and took away from us being like, oh shit,
Yeah.
It just came out of nowhere. Now we're thinking about it already.
Yeah. Oh no.
Nigel McGuinness said that God did not finish making Daniel Bryan, and he left him with weird ape feet and a weird ape body.
He's not wrong.
Does he have weird ape feet?
I mean, I don't recall his big 8 feet. I know they're big, but I never put the two and two together. He has a weird caveman style body, like
Yeah, like he can scratch his knees without bending over.
yeah, like he's built oddly. Mine is, but yeah.
And Excalibur, I figured out, and it was during this match when it came to me. Excalibur should be doing play-by-play for figure skating.
Huh.
Right? Take a tour with me on this thought process here, right? He never tells us, what it feels like when you get cracked in the jaw. He never, like Jim Ross made a mint off of calling feeling and emotion and using a metaphor and a simile to try and put us through what the wrestler was going through.
Right.
He made you feel that. He made you emotional about it. Excalibur is just, he might as well, there's a nice triple Lindy 360 axle. Didn't execute it perfectly. Like he should be calling figure skating because all he wants to do is say the names of the tricks
and then judge
tell us if it landed properly or not.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
He'd be fucking fantastic for the Olympics. But for pro wrestling, he's the drizzling shits because he just wants to say the names of the moves. He doesn't want to. There is a point in this match where he was like, Brian Danielson has beat some of the best of the world. Hechitero, Blue Panther. He recently went to Arena Mexico to face Blue Panther, and he beat him. Hey, Rick. I love pro wrestling. I don't know who the fuck Blue Panther is.
Right.
As far as I know, he's a job guy that Bryan Danielson just beat up.
Right.
Why don't you tell me about Blue Panther?
Right. Yeah. What makes what makes that a big deal?
Yeah. Bryan Danielson went to Arena Mexico, the coveted arena in Mexico where all the big stars have wrestled for generations. And one of them, who's been a star for 40 years, the biggest star in all of Mexico, Blue Panther. Oh, Bryan beat that guy? Shit. Right? But all I know is he beat Blue Panther, which isn't Black Panther. And as far as I know, that's the toughest Panther there is.
There's also the Pink Panther, but...
Sure, but everybody beats the Pink Panther.
Right.
So it's just like the commentary there is the drizzling shits.
Yeah, he's bad.
And Nigel just leans in too hard on being a heel. Especially when he's out there and it's him and it's Excalibur and it's Tony Schiavone, who actually did a pretty good job the other night, but normally, it's just, I'm just happy to be here. Right. He's gotta do more. He's gotta work harder because he's gotta carry 2 dipshits around. Yeah. And when Cal is sitting there, you gotta carry 3 dipshits around. You can't be leaning in that much.
That's not good.
The next match was the Bucks versus FTR in the ladder match. And I hated almost every minute of the 21 minutes of this match.
Oh, man.
Would you like to know why I hated this?
Well, I mean, I can imagine, but go ahead.
The Bucks beat the absolute dog shit out of FTR for the entirety of this match.
Oh, man.
FTR worked this match taking just heat and then hope spots and false finishes. There was never like, oh man, FTR's got this. They dog walked FTR for the first fucking 10 or 15 minutes of this thing. And it was visually ridiculous. They were smart enough to isolate them and have it be like a 2-on-1 every time they were kicking the crap out of FTR.
Okay.
Like, you know, they got color on Dax Harwood. They're ping-ponging Cash Wheeler all over. They beat the absolute shit out of them. And it was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen on television. So there's that. Also, they were the third longest match of the night. And then came our 18-minute main event of Swerve and Joe. And this started off really good. The match was really good. Right? But there were, and for most of the time, the crowd was hot for Swerve. Crowd was hot all night. I think by this point, they're exhausted because there was also 3 pre-show matches. Yeah. But there were a few points where like they needed to be with Swerve and they weren't. And I just think they were tired.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's a long night.
It was a long night. It took me 2 viewings to get through this pay-per-view, and I was doing it from a couch. So I can only imagine what it's like when you're in an 18-inch plastic chair. But I mean, listen, it was a great match. I love the finish. They had fantastic little nuances with Joe, like really making him have to work to win this title, and Joe doing things to stack the deck against him. Shit, the barricade. He caught him out of there and Uranagi'd him on the announce desk. He peeled up the concrete mat on the outside and gave him a power slam. Like he made Swerve work, and he made the Jeopardy seem credible. And I mean, when Swerve went over, the place went nuts. So they got the job done.
Right.
So good for them. Good for Swerve. I don't think, like you were saying earlier, I don't think we're getting Swerve and Ospreay in the main event in Wembley.
Why not?
I think that, first of all, I don't know if Swerve is still going to be the champion when we get there. I'm looking right now at the co-main event, 2 main event matches for Wembley this year. I'm going to go on the record with them right now. We are going to get MJF and Adam Cole as one of the main events for the AEW World title in Wembley. And we are going to get Ospreay and Okada for the Continental Championship in Wembley.
No. I'm going to disagree big time, especially for that first one. So you're telling me that Cole is going to take it off Swerve?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know. Here's my argument with thinking that it's Swerve and Ospreay, because Ospreay already did an underneath match at Wembley the first time with Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
And with what they're paying him and it being in London, I totally think he's going to be in the main event. Like, he has to be. In my mind, that's the only thing that's going to justify him going there, picking AEW over WWE. And what better way to do it than making him the champion? So when they announce a third one, they all assume that Ospreay will be there again with the belt. But I also look at it like Ospreay's looking at who can I have the best match with on that stage and to get that title. And I think him and Swerve match up pretty evenly overall. And Swerve's character, he could be the total heel that night if they did it right. He would come in as the big bad American heel, arrogant, very Floyd Mayweather like persona, and Ospreay being the hometown kid. So I mean, they may throw MJF on the undercard somehow and make it a double main, but I'm going with Ospreay and Swerve because I feel as the first, their first black champion, that they're not going to take it off them in a few months because
Swerve's black.
because I feel like they're going to get backlash for that with everybody being so sensitive about colors and things. So,
well, I mean, that's where the smart money is. I like to look at it through this lens. I don't see stadium money in Swerve and Ospreay. I think Tony Khan is trying to use Okada to make that Continental title important.
Tony Khan is not that. His wrestling IQ is not that high to make that belt mean that much to headline that type of an event. And the event already has like 40,000 tickets sold, right?
Right.
So it's the event that they're buying. They're, if he even has the slightest idea, he would ask Ospreay, like William Regal asked TJP at the end of when it got down to the final four of the CWC. William Regal, they didn't tell TJP that he was winning or winning a belt. William Regal said, "Who would you have your best matches with if you could pick tonight?" And he told them, and that's what they did. And then he won the tournament, right? If Tony Khan is smart in any way possible, even a little bit, he's going to ask Ospreay, who could you just tear the house down with now having finished Bryan? And then what they might do is have that be Bryan's retirement match underneath it, and that could help boost ticket sales, and then do the whole, maybe he gets bit by a snake and then comes back 3 months later out of retirement, Macho Man style or something, because he'll still want to wrestle part-time, but I think that Bryan would do like a big go away send off in a huge stadium underneath.
I think it's funny that you mentioned that because maybe 4 times during the Ospreay and Bryan Danielson match, Excalibur mentioned that Bryan Danielson says that this is going to be his last year as a full-time wrestler.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm saying he's checking off all the big money matches now. And if they were smart, they would do that, or something against, maybe, I don't know, like a match where Bryan puts his career on the line, like Shawn did against Taker or something.
Yes.
Underneath.
But I think the ball that everybody is jumping over here is they work twice a week.
Right. Well, he wants to work quarterly then.
How less full time can you be a part-time wrestler than when you work for AEW?
He's going to pop up at the change of each season, each season yearly. When it becomes fall, Brian will have a match. When it becomes winter, Brian will have a match. Very seasonal.
Solstice. Here comes Brian.
Yeah. Heat wave coming through. Brian's up. Yeah.
Oh, man. And just the one last thing I wanted to touch on here tonight. The IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Did you happen to catch his promo on Dynamite the week after he won that title?
I'm not going to watch that dude try to talk. No.
Okay. Well, he's going to be defending that belt tonight on Dynamite against Will Hobbs. So already my predictions have come true.
I know.
But when he came out to do that promo, they were like, the most prestigious title in Japan. Like, they realized that is Tony Khan enough of a Japanese wrestling, I'm trying to not be mean to Tony right now,
Mark,
fan that he's going to treat that belt just as, if not more important than his own world title on his own TV?
I don't know what that dude's thinking, bro. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm starting to wonder, is he paying New Japan something?
I mentioned that when Moxley won it, and I think he's got to be.
Or is this like, I know Rocky's a double VP now, so
probably a double agent also.
Is that part of the deal? Like, like, hey, I could book you the IWGP title if I get to fly the jet twice a month, like.
He's a triple agent. He's actually working for CMLL, and he's secretly trying to sink both of these ships from the inside.
I guess. I'm happy for him, but
sure.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I do notice that when New Japan doesn't have the most faith in the champions, they give them a lot of the newer guys, and that's what they're doing with Moxley, because they're giving him one of the quote unquote new Three Musketeer guys, and then they're giving him Shooter at Resurgence, and they're greener guys. They're still trying to figure it out. So he's not giving them, or New Japan's not giving them the main heavy hitters, like maybe an Evil or Goto, or what little they have still left to give them. But
because they need to make money with those guys.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, man. It's a weird thing. It's going to be weird to see it play out. So I don't know what the fuck to expect.
I also, somewhere in the back of my mind, I like to think that somebody behind the scenes in New Japan kind of sees the writing on the wall as far as what the business is doing in New Japan.
Yes.
And they're going to try and make Moxley the fall guy here.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, he's just a transitional champion for something big. Like maybe one of the newer guys is going to beat him for the belt, and then they're going to put all their eggs in that basket and start running a new young Okada-like, campaign. So I don't know. I mean, it's not looking good over there for them right now. They're not doing too great and strong booking, and there's all kinds of like mid to upper level guys, but there's no main eventers right now that are on top.
They don't need to worry. They both stardom, so they should be
right. I know that too. I'm just counting the days down for Okada's return. That's all I'm doing right now. Just keep it afloat until then.
Yeah.
And then maybe Nakamura will come back and they can, get sent off the right way in the dome. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I think I'm going to send us off the right way right here, right now. You got anything else you want to talk about? Questions, comments, concerns, thoughts?
No, I'm curious what's going to happen with that partnership, though. So I'm keeping a close eye on it.
Yeah. I'm curious as to why they booked Swerve Strickland with Kyle Fletcher. I don't know.
No idea.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I am curious as to where is the gimmick. There it is. Ricky, you have a good night. I'll speak to you later. Motherfluxxers, we'll catch you next week. This has been Podfluxxx, episode 51.